The sky split open and the world screamed. It began as a storm, a violet wound tearing through clouds above New York. Then came the Drav Corps, a swarm of steel-winged creatures whose arrival turned night into endless fire. Their ships descended like obsidian comets, blotting out the stars one by one. Governments fell before they even understood what they were fighting. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and within 72 hours, 8 billion voices went silent. She was never meant to survive. Ava Wren, 17, daughter of a mechanic and a schoolteacher, should have died in the first wave. Her town, a dot on the map in northern Alaska, was erased in seconds when invasion's energy beams scoured the earth. But the mountains swallowed her. A cave collapse, triggered by the shockwaves, buried her alive. For 3 days, she clawed through stone and blood until she reached the surface. The world was gone. Ash rained like snow. Skeletons of skyscrapers clawed at the horizon. The air smelled of ozone and burnt dreams. Ava wandered through a corpse of civilization, learning, surviving, hardening. The invaders weren't gods or monsters. They were hunters, harvesting what remained of humanity for their biocores, using human DNA as a resource to stabilize their own unstable genome. But something was wrong with Ava. She wasn't like the others they captured. When one of the creatures touched her, its exoskeleton cracked like glass. Its black blood hissed. Ava didn't know it yet, but her blood was no longer human. The invasion had changed her. In their attempt to destroy Earth, the Drav Corps had created their own undoing. And so began the legend whispered through alien frequencies. The last human is death itself. By the time Ava realized what she was becoming, entire squads of Drav Corps were hunting her across the ruins. But she didn't run anymore. She learned to hunt back. Section 2, the blood of the enemy. Weeks turned to months. Humanity was gone. The Earth had become a forge of glass and bone, ruled by alien sentinels and their drone armies. Ava became a ghost. She painted her face in ash, moved through the ruins like a shadow, and learned to turn their own weapons against them. Her body healed faster. Her eyes glowed faintly when she bled. When she touched their technology, it obeyed. She was evolving. The Drav Corps called her the Blight, a myth used to terrify their young soldiers. To them, she was a contamination, a hybrid anomaly that could corrupt their hive networks and weapon systems. They didn't know how right they were. One night, in the ruins of a fallen ship near what was once Chicago, Ava discovered the truth. A dying alien, impaled on its own machinery, spoke through blood bubbles in its throat. You are one of us and none of us. The Corps tried to rewrite your DNA, it failed. She realized the invasion wasn't random. The Drav Corps had come because their homeworld was dying. A genetic plague devoured their race. Earth's DNA was the cure they sought. But when they tested on Ava's village, the experiment spiraled out of control. She was their first success and their greatest failure. Ava's veins pulsed with the same biocircuitry that powered their weapons. She could hear their communications, feel their network like whispers crawling under her skin. When they hunted her, she could sense them. Now, she turned that connection into a weapon. She infiltrated hives, collapsed energy cores, and used alien blood to power her own survival. Each kill made her stronger, and each victory made the invasion more desperate. The Drav Corps began to withdraw from key territories, terrified of an enemy they could not see. But Ava's transformation had a cost. Her reflection no longer looked human. Her dreams were filled with alien landscapes, voices whispering in languages she somehow understood. Was she still the last human, or the first monster born of 2 dying worlds? Section 3, the war that changed direction. The invasion had turned into a retreat. Drav Corps fleets began abandoning their outposts, fleeing into orbit. Their empire fractured from within, entire divisions refusing to land on Earth. Commanders were executed for cowardice. But even as they ran, they sent one final weapon, the Apex Core, an artificial mind designed to erase all hybrid anomalies, including Ava. The Apex Core was not a creature. It was a storm. Cities crumbled as it descended from orbit, burning through the atmosphere like a star. Every machine, every drone, every surviving fragment of alien tech answered its call. The planet became a war zone of flickering lights and screeching frequencies. Ava, standing in the middle of it all, knew this was the end game. She gathered what remained of human resistance, pockets of survivors hidden in the ruins. They looked to her as both savior and curse. Some worshipped her, others feared her, but all followed her when she spoke. We don't run anymore. Not from them. Not from what we've become. Together, they launched the impossible, a final strike against the Apex Corps' landing site. The shattered remains of Washington, D.C., now buried beneath black crystal spires. The battle was chaos made flesh, drones screaming overhead, alien artillery vaporizing ground, and Ava charging through it all like a blade of vengeance. Her body was breaking apart, half flesh, half machine. Every wound glowed like molten metal, her blood burning through the ground as she moved. But she pressed on. When she reached the core, it spoke inside her mind, cold, infinite. You are not human. You are not Drav Corps. You are infection. Ava smiled through blood and light. Then infection is what wins. She plunged her hand into its heart. The explosion lit the sky for hours. The core died, and with it, the invasion ended. But so did Ava, or so they thought. Section 4, the girl who became the storm. The earth healed, slowly. Skies cleared. Silence returned. The survivors built new settlements, whispering stories of the last human. Some said she died saving them. Others believed she ascended into the sky with the explosion. But deep within the crater where the Apex Core fell, something stirred. A single pulse of light. Ava woke, reborn, not as human or alien, but something beyond both. The Apex Core's death had rewritten her entirely. She could breathe in vacuum, move through energy currents, and command what little remained of the Drav Corps network. She wasn't a soldier anymore. She was a balance between extinction and rebirth. From orbit, the surviving Drav Corps fleets saw her signal and fled into deep space. Their invasion had turned into a legend of terror. They called her the Black Sun, the destroyer who walked like light and spoke like thunder. Now, centuries later, her story became the seed of a new age. Human children grew up under skies she had cleared, worshiping her as both savior and warning. She saved us, but she wasn't one of us. And somewhere in the cold edges of the solar system, where alien ships drifted in darkness, a new message echoed across the stars. Not from the invaders, but from her. If you ever come back, remember who ended you. The invasion no longer hunted her. The invasion ran from her. Because the last human girl had become the one thing the universe feared most. Justice wearing the skin of a ghost. The night began with a sound no one had ever heard before. A scream from the heavens. It wasn't thunder. It wasn't an earthquake. It was something older. Something alive. Above the northern sky, the auroras twisted into spirals of red and violet, stretching like veins across the stars. Satellites blinked out one by one. Cell towers died. Airplanes dropped from the sky like broken birds. And then the first rips appeared, jagged tears of light that didn't open into space, but into something far worse. The invasion didn't come with warning. It came with hunger. From those rifts poured the Drav Corps, a swarm of biomechanical creatures that moved like liquid metal and thunder. Their ships, black, organic, alive, descended in waves. The first strike fell on Tokyo, the second on London. The third consumed the White House in a column of blue fire that reached the clouds. In 72 minutes, every major military command went silent. In 72 hours, humanity ceased to exist. No mercy, no negotiation, no survivors, or so the world believed. Ava Wren was 17. She should have died with everyone else. Her home was a small mining town tucked between the mountains of northern Alaska, population 312. Too remote to matter, too quiet to notice. That night, when the sky bled purple, her father had been working in the garage, welding the frame of an old snow truck. Her mother had been making stew. Ava was upstairs, sketching stars. Then the sky turned to glass. The mountain split with a sound like breaking bones. A beam of light, white, silent, and impossibly precise, swept through the valley. Trees vanished. Houses evaporated. The air itself caught fire. Ava ran for the basement, but the shock wave tore the ground open. She fell, screaming, into the collapsing earth. Rock and steel rained down. The last thing she heard was her mother's voice, cut off mid-cry. Darkness swallowed everything. She woke 3 days later beneath the mountain. The air was thick with dust. Her nails were broken, her hands bleeding from clawing through rubble. She didn't remember how she survived, only that her body felt wrong. Her pulse was too strong, her wounds already closing. When she finally crawled through a narrow slit of stone and saw daylight, she froze. The world was gone. The forest was ash. The horizon shimmered with fire. What used to be the town was now a crater of molten glass. No birds, no wind, just a silence, heavy and endless. For days, Ava wandered the ruins, alone, starving, terrified. She found no one. The roads were empty. Cars melted into the ground. The sun was dim behind layers of gray smoke. At night, the sky glowed faintly green, not from stars, but from alien lights moving in formation. When she finally saw them up close, she wished she hadn't. The Dravkor were not machines, not animals. They were both. Their bodies shimmered like obsidian armor stretched over living flesh. Faces like fractured mirrors, limbs jointed backward, eyes that burned with an inner plasma glow. They moved with fluid silence, communicating through bursts of light and sound that made Ava's skull ache. She hid in the ruins of a gas station when one landed nearby. It tore apart the ground with silver claws, dragging something from beneath the asphalt, a human body, or what was left of one. Then it did something worse. Ava watched in horror as the creature plunged its arm into corpse. The veins of the dead began to glow. The Dravkor's chest opened like petals of metal, revealing a pulsing crystal heart. It absorbed the light, feeding on it, feeding on human DNA. Ava gagged and stumbled backward. The sound made the creature's head snap up. It turned toward her. Their eyes met. For a single, impossible heartbeat, it froze. Its glow flickered, erratic, uncertain. Then, without warning, the creature's armor cracked. Its body convulsed violently, shrieking in a frequency that shattered glass. The thing's chest exploded, spraying black plasma across the wall. It collapsed, twitching, then went still. Ava stood there shaking, covered in alien blood. Her skin burned where it touched her, but the burn didn't hurt. It hummed. She didn't understand what had just happened. She only knew one thing. The alien had died the moment it touched her. Over the next weeks, she learned the patterns of the Dravkor. They hunted in threes. They scanned for heat. Their ships glided low, dragging blue searchlights across the ground like spider silk. But the more they hunted her, the more mistakes they made. Their sensors flickered. Their signals faltered. And every time they came near her, something went wrong. Their weapons jammed. Their armor fractured. The world itself seemed to reject them in her presence. By accident, Ava discovered that her blood, her very existence, was toxic to them. The invasion had changed her on a cellular level. When she was buried in that cave, when their energy had scorched the earth above her, something in the radiation, in the alien energy, in her human DNA merged. She wasn't just immune. She was the antidote. The Dravkor had come to Earth to harvest humanity's genetics, but in Avaran, they had created the one human whose DNA could unmake them, and they knew it. It began as whispers across their communication lines, distorted bursts of static carried on the wind. The anomaly lives. Contain the breach. The girl must not be allowed to reach the core. They didn't know her name, but they feared her. Ava heard their whispers too. She didn't understand how, but she could feel them now. Every transmission, every energy pulse. She sensed in the air like distant thunder. The line between her and them was thinning. For the first time since the invasion, she smiled, because the hunted had become the hunter. Days bled into nights. Ava began to adapt. She fashioned weapons from scavenged alien tech, blades that could cut through their armor, powered by fragments of their fallen drones. She mapped their patrol routes, learned their weaknesses. Every night she struck one. Every morning another patrol vanished. The Dravkor started avoiding her sector entirely. They called her the Blight. To them, she wasn't human. She was contamination, a walking plague that unraveled their hive systems wherever she went. And so, in the burning skeleton of the world, the legend of the last human began. The invaders who had destroyed her planet were now whispering her name in fear. The stars that once rained fire now dimmed at her presence. She was no longer the prey. She was evolution's last spark, a weapon born from extinction itself. And though the earth lay silent, one truth echoed across the wreckage of civilization. Only one human girl survived the invasion. Now the invasion runs from her. The world didn't end with fire. It kept dying slowly, one heartbeat at a time. Months passed since the sky had burned. The cities that once glittered with human light were now hollow tombs. Skyscrapers stood like ribs of a dead god. The air was still thick with radiation haze, humming with alien frequencies. But through it all, Ava Wren walked, wrapped in the dust of the world that had been. She had become a ghost among the ruins. Every morning she woke beneath shattered bridges or in the skeletons of shopping malls, her reflection barely human in broken glass. Her hair had turned pale from exposure. Her eyes glowed faintly silver in the dark. When she breathed, frost steamed from her mouth even when the air was warm. The Drav Corps still hunted, but their presence had changed. They no longer stalked openly. They moved carefully now, like predators aware another, stronger predator shared their territory. And that predator was her. She had learned their weapons, the way their blades hummed with frequency fields, the way their plasma rifles used living ammunition, biological cores that screamed when fired. She learned how to break them down, to fuse human mechanics with alien tech. Her father's teachings as a mechanic had become her arsenal. In an abandoned factory near the edge of a frozen lake, Ava built her first weapon, a blade forged from the limb of a fallen Drav Corps soldier. Its edge shimmered with black light. When she swung it, it sang. She named it Echo. That night, 3 of them found her. Drones first, floating discs with eyes like molten glass. Then the soldiers themselves, emerging from the fog like walking sculptures. Their armor pulsed with organic veins. They spoke in light, beams that flickered in coded bursts. But Ava could hear their meaning inside her skull. Contain the hybrid, terminate, reclaim genetic essence. Her muscles tightened. Her heartbeat echoed through the silence. When they attacked, she didn't run. The first lunge forward with bladed limbs. Ava slid beneath it, driving Echo upward. The blade sliced clean through its abdomen. Black ichor sprayed the walls, sizzling where it landed. The second fired a pulse rifle. The beam seared past her shoulder. The air filled with metallic screams. Ava moved faster than she should have been able to, faster than human. Her body reacted on instinct. Her senses stretched beyond reason. One by one, they fell. When the last creature collapsed, she stood over it, breathing hard, shaking, and saw its eyes flicker dimly. It wasn't dead yet. She hesitated. For a moment, she felt almost pity. Then it spoke, its voice a mix of static and agony. You are one of us and none of us. Ava froze. The core experimented. Your world's DNA, incompatible. You survived the rewriting. She stepped closer, trembling. What do you mean? What did you do to me? Your body, hybridized. The core wanted soldiers. You are the error, the virus, the cure. Its voice faltered, and then the creature convulsed and went still. Ava stared down at it for a long time. The word hybrid burned in her mind. She looked at her hands, saw faint lines of light pulsing under her skin. She had thought the alien blood that had touched in the cave was just radiation, contamination. But no, it had merged with her. She was their experiment, and their destruction. Over the next weeks, she pushed herself to understand what she had become. When she cut herself, the wound sealed in seconds. When she touched alien metal, it rippled like water, reshaping under her fingertips. Her hearing stretched for miles, her dreams filled with images of alien worlds, red suns, black oceans, cities made of bone. And sometimes, when she slept, she heard them whispering through the static of her mind. Thousands of voices, all screaming the same phrase. Find the anomaly. She could feel the Drav Corps hive, their thoughts, their panic, their fear of her spreading through their network like a virus. She didn't just hear them anymore. She could interfere. With focus, she could disrupt their communication, cause confusion, blind their scanners. Ava had become the weapon they feared. But power came with pain. The more she used her abilities, the less human she felt. Her reflection showed veins glowing faintly blue. Sometimes her hands trembled uncontrollably, her voice echoing with two tones, one human, one metallic. Her dreams showed her glimpses of something colossal, a vast, pulsating structure orbiting above Earth's atmosphere. She knew it instinctively, the apex core, the mind that commanded the invasion, the thing that had created her. It called to her now. She didn't know if it wanted to reclaim her or destroy her, but she knew she had to find it. On the 190th day after the invasion, Ava reached the ruins of Chicago, or what remained of it. The city had been melted down to black glass and alien growth. Massive tendrils of metal and flesh coiled around the old skyscrapers, pulsing with faint blue light. In the center of the ruins lay a fallen Dravcor ship, split open like a carcass. Inside, she found corpses, human and alien alike, fused together by the same energy that now lived inside her veins. And among them, a data sphere, still flickering weakly. When she touched it, the ship reacted. The walls pulsed. Symbols flared to life. The voice of the ship spoke, not aloud, but inside her head. Hybrid signal recognized. Welcome, Prototype 01. Containment failure logged. The world seemed to tilt. Prototype 01. She wasn't the only experiment. She was the first. Ava staggered out of the ship, trembling. The snow around her hissed from the heat, radiating off her body. The air was alive with whispers. The hive network had felt her activation. The Dravcor knew where she was now. She gripped Echo tightly and smiled through the fear. Come find me then. When they came in swarms. Hundreds of them descending from the sky, their ships blotting out the dying sun. The ground shook as they landed, their lights converging on her. But this time, Ava didn't hide. She stood on the cracked highway, her silver eyes reflecting the approaching army. The first wave fired. Bolts of plasma screamed through the air, but they bent around her, twisting off course. Her body pulsed with white light. She raised her hand, and the earth erupted beneath their feet. Alien tech answered her command now. She tore through them like a storm, blades of energy slicing through armor, ships crashing in flames. Each kill made her stronger, every drop of their black blood feeding the glow beneath her skin. And through it all, she could feel the hive's terror. The Dravcor network was collapsing, their signals fragmenting, commanders screaming in frequencies that cracked the sky. They were afraid. When the battle ended, the city was silent again. Smoke drifted across the ruins. Ava stood alone on a highway bridge, blood dripping from her hands, both red and black. She looked at the horizon where the alien lights flickered faintly in the clouds and whispered to no one, "You made me to save your kind, but I'm saving mine instead." For the first time in months, she allowed herself to cry. The tears burned trails down her face, glowing faintly blue before fading into steam. She wasn't human anymore, but she wasn't one of them either. She was something new, something both worlds would learn to fear. And somewhere in the static of her mind, the apex core stirred, aware that its creation had turned against it. The war was changing direction. The war ended in silence. No victory music, no applause, only the low hum of a world trying to remember how to breathe. The fires that had once swallowed the skies finally died out, leaving behind a planet covered in scars. Oceans were gray, forests ash, cities nothing more than skeletons of stone and steel. But there was life again. Small, stubborn, human life. From the bones of the old world, survivors emerged, ragged, hollow-eyed, wrapped in rags and memory. They gathered around the ruins of the capital, where the great crater now yawned like a wound in the earth. That was where the storm had ended, where she had vanished. Ava Wren, the girl who had turned extinction into rebellion. No one had seen her since the explosion. Some said she died with the apex core. Others swore they saw a flash of white light rising into the sky, as if she had ascended into the stars themselves. Whatever the truth, one thing was certain. The invasion was over. The Draft Corps were gone, their fleet shattered, their world silent. But in the heart of that crater, buried beneath miles of fused glass and alien bone, something stirred. It began as a tremor, a heartbeat, deep beneath the earth, where molten rock met fragments of alien metal. A cocoon pulsed with blue light. Within it, a figure slept, her skin translucent, veins glowing with both human red and alien silver. Her heart beat once every minute, then every second, then faster. Ava Wren was not dead. She was becoming. The energy she had absorbed from the Apex Core hadn't killed her. It had rewritten her entirely. Her cells, fused with the alien code, had transcended biology. She no longer needed air or food or even time. She existed between frequencies, part human, part machine, part storm. And when her eyes finally opened, the earth shuddered. The surface cracked open like glass under lightning. A burst of light erupted from the crater, shooting straight into the clouds. Storms gathered in its wake, spinning across the horizon like the planet's pulse returning. The survivors watched from afar, shielding their eyes from the blinding radiance. When the light faded, she stood at the center, alive but changed. Her skin shimmered with faint luminescence, patterns moving beneath it like circuitry and veins combined. Her hair, once dark, now glowed faintly white. Her eyes burned with two suns, one human gold, one alien blue. She took her first step forward, and the ground beneath her healed. The dead grass turned green. The ash blew away. The air itself seemed to sigh with relief. Ava looked up to the sky, whispering to no one, "I'm still here." Her voice echoed across the ruins, carried on the wind like a prayer from the earth itself. Days later, the survivors found her. They approached slowly, dozens of them, then hundreds. Men, women, and children who had survived on hope alone now knelt before her, not as a god, but as something they couldn't explain. They called her the light between worlds. Others called her the Stormborn. But Ava shook her head at every title. "I'm no god," she said softly. "I'm just what's left of us." Still, when she walked through the ruins, things changed. Machines flickered back to life at her touch. Drones, once enemies, now obeyed her silent commands. She rebuilt water systems, reignited power grids, healed the dying with a single breath. The earth began to rebuild itself around her. But deep inside, she knew peace was temporary, because the Apex Core had not truly died. It had fled. When she destroyed its physical body, fragments of its consciousness had scattered into the void, whispers of code drifting through the stars. And now, across the edge of the solar system, something was moving, a signal, weak but growing stronger. The Draft Corps were regrouping. Ava stood one night on a mountain ridge, the wind whipping through her white hair, eyes fixed on the stars. The constellations looked different now, fractured, dimmer, as if the universe itself had been scarred by what happened here. In the distance, lightning danced over the sea. A voice echoed behind her, the old resistance leader, Commander Hayes, gray-haired and scarred. "They're gone, Ava. You did it. You can rest now." She didn't turn. "No," she said quietly. "They're running, but they'll come back. And when they do, I'll be waiting." He frowned. "You can't fight forever." She smiled faintly. "I don't have forever, but something else does." She raised her hand, and the storm obeyed her. Thunder rolled across the sky like drums of war. Rain began to fall for the first time in years, washing away the dust of apocalypse. In time, humanity rebuilt. The children born after the invasion grew up beneath clear skies, in cities powered by fusion reactors that Ava had taught them to repair. They learned to plan again, to laugh again, to live. But they never forgot her. Every generation carried her story, whispered like sacred truth around campfires and classrooms alike. The story of the girl who survived the night the stars fell, the girl who made the invaders run. And those centuries passed, her legend only grew. Some said she still walked the wastelands, unseen, guiding the lost. Others claimed she had become the storm itself. The reason thunder still carried her voice. "You can run from me," the legend said, but you can't run from what I become. Then one night, the stars changed again. A pulse of light appeared beyond the moon, faint but deliberate. It wasn't natural. It wasn't random. It was a message. Ava felt it before anyone saw it. The pulse thrummed to the planet's magnetic field, whispering in her blood. She closed her eyes and heard the words behind the static. "We are coming home." The Drav Corps had returned. But this time, they weren't invading a broken world. They were returning to a planet reborn, protected by a being that wasn't human or alien, but the fusion of both. Ava stepped into the storm, her body glowing brighter with each heartbeat. She no longer felt fear, no longer felt alone, because she was the storm now, the weapon, the guardian, the echo of everything humanity once was, and everything it could still become. She spoke into the night sky, her voice carrying across the ionosphere, like a warning written in thunder. "If you come back, remember what I am." Lightning split the heavens, and her form dissolved into light, merging with the storm, with the planet, with the very pulse of the earth itself. Years later, astronomers would look into their telescopes and swear they saw something moving in the upper atmosphere, a figure made of light, walking through clouds of lightning, watching the stars. And when storms rolled across the land, they came without destruction, only renewal. Children learned to listen to the thunder, because in it, they could still hear her voice. "I survived your end. I became your fear. I am the storm that remembers." The invasion never dared return, not because Earth was powerful, but because one girl, once human, had become the universe's reckoning. They called her by many names: the Black Sun, the Savior of Ashes, the Ghost of the Sky. But the world remembered her by the only title that ever truly mattered: